Let me ask you something. Who are you when you're doing everything right and it still doesn't feel like enough? Not when you're winning, not when things are clicking, but when you are showing up, doing the work, checking the boxes, and something still feels off. No matter what you do, it doesn't land the way you thought it would, like you're moving but not arriving. If that feeling is familiar to you, this episode is for you. Welcome back to the Eminence Legacy podcast. I'm Jose Luis Cadena, and today we're not talking about discipline. We're talking about identity. There are people listening to this right now in the United States, in Vietnam, and all over the world, living completely different lives, but carrying the same pressure. If I'm doing everything right, why doesn't it feel like enough? If I'm showing up, why do I still feel behind? If I am progressing, why do I still question myself? And nobody says it out loud, but they feel it because somewhere along the way we were taught to measure our worth by our results. There's a moment where everything slows down. No noise, no distractions, no performance. And a thought hits you. If I'm being honest, I don't feel like I'm enough right now. And let me stop you right there. Because if that thought has ever crossed your mind, you need to understand something. That voice, that's not truth. That's conditioning. And most people spend their entire lives obeying it, listening to it, accepting it. But listen carefully, because this is where most people get it wrong. You think you are chasing growth, but what you're really chasing is validation. When you win, you feel worthy. When you lose, you question everything. When you are productive, you feel confident. When you slow down, you feel like you're falling apart. That is not discipline. That is dependency. And anything you depend on to feel like enough will always control you. Now let's get something clear. Your situation is not your identity, but most people tie them together. So when life gets hard, they do not just feel pressured, they feel diminished. And some of you listening right now are carrying pressure. Your environment placed on you, not something you chose. Different country, different expectations, same internal weight. And if you don't separate who you are from where you are, every difficult season will convince you are less than who you actually are. So let me ask you something. Who told you that your worth had to be earned? Who told you that you had to prove your value before you could believe in it? Because if your identity is built on performance, then your confidence will always fluctuate. But if your identity is rooted in something deeper, something stable, something that does not shift with circumstances, then even on your worst days, you do not lose yourself. So, what do you do with this? Not overthink it, not analyze it for months. You do this: separate your worth from your results. You are responsible for your efforts, not defined by your outcome. Tell yourself the truth in hard times, not I'm failing, but this is a season, not my identity. Respond with intention because your situation does not define you, but your response to it builds who you become next. So ask yourself this: where in your life have you been measuring your worth based on your performance? And if that was taken away from you today, who would you be? And next, we are going somewhere deeper because there are questions people do not ask during the day. They wait until everything gets quiet, midnight, and that's where the truth shows up. This isn't for everyone, but if this hit you, you already know that. Don't just listen to this. Stay here. Follow this podcast so you do not lose what you just felt. And if you are listening through a link right now or on Chrome, stop for a second and go follow this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, because this isn't something you check in on, it's something you built with. If this gave you clarity, leave a review so the right people can find this when they need it. And if someone came to mind while listening to this, send it to them. Not everyone, just one person. Forward it. Most people will hear this and go right back to measuring themselves the same way. But a small percentage will actually do something about it. The question is, which one are you? And remember, your value was never meant to rise and fall with your results, but your responsibility to rise anyway. That's where your life is built. This is the Eminence Legacy podcast. Thank you for joining us. Remember, together we'll rise to your eminence. Catch you in the next one. Before we close, quick reminder. If you've been listening to this podcast and you know you do not need more information, you need structure. We built something for that. The Eminence Circle. a discipleship leadership room for people who are done drifting and ready to take responsibility for their own life. It's application-based and limited. If that sounds like you, go to EminenceLegacyLive.com and apply. Some people listen, others build. It's time to build your legacy.